You are watching No Filter with Debbie. These are my views and opinions. Welcome to No Filter with Debbie. I'm Debbie Schlussel, and you know what's driving me crazy? The impeachment, or what I think should be called the cadaver impeachment. Now, why do I say that? Donald Trump is alive and well. He's not a cadaver. But politically, I do think he is. He is not going to run again. Yes, he has a lot of power still. And yes, he will probably pick winners and losers in primaries in the next 2 years and also in the next 4 years. But I don't believe he'll run for president. But it has nothing to do with him. And it has everything to do with something that happened in history. And that is the Cadaver Synod. Now, what is the Cadaver Synod? Well, far be it from me, a nice Jewish girl from the Midwest, to tell you about Catholic history, but this did take place in history, and it is about what had happened in the Vatican. There was a pope, Pope Stephen the Sixth, and Pope Stephen the Sixth dug up a former pope, not even the pope that he succeeded, as depicted in the picture we just showed you. He put Pope Formosus on trial. On trial, and he's dead. He's a skeleton. And I used to compare President Trump attacking John McCain after he died with this. But frankly, there's a much better example, and that is the Senate trying to impeach the president. Now, today there was a vote, and in that vote, 5 Republican senators, just 5, voted in favor of having the impeachment trial. The U.S. Senate voted on whether it was even constitutional and legitimate to have a trial of somebody that's already been removed from office or who has left office, as the president has. And it's the usual suspects, let me tell you, who voted in favor of having this trial. Ben Sass. Ben Sass he's from Nebraska. He's been very, very anti-Trump from the beginning. He's always been a never Trumper, very vocal. Mitt Romney, same thing, ditto. Susan Collins, pretty much the same thing. Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, same thing. So these are the usual suspects. And then you have Pat Toomey, who is not running for reelection. He's from Pennsylvania, and he's always been one of the more moderate Republicans. So it's the usual gang of suspects. And obviously, the Senate has 50 Democrats. So these 5 with the 50 Democrats, it was 55 to 45. The trial is going to go on. And like I said on yesterday's show, I'm almost a little bit glad it's going to go on because Trump is going to be acquitted again. And I forgot to get my producers to get this photo. We'll get it another day. But as you'll recall, there were pictures of President Trump. He tweeted them out of him holding USA Today, of him holding the front page of the Washington Post, where it says acquitted. And he posed with those various newspapers. He was acquitted. He will be acquitted a second time. There simply aren't 17 members of the U.S. Senate who will vote to remove him from office, remove him from non-office after he's already left, and vote to deny him the right to run again or to enjoy the benefits of an ex or former president. It's petty. It's no different than the Formosus Cadaver Synod trial. Yes, he can put together a legal team. He already has hired an attorney from South Carolina. He has hired others, and they will plead President Trump's case. But for all intents and purposes, he's like that cadaver. He's gone from office, and this whole thing is petty and pointless, just as Pope Stephen the Sixth was petty and his trial was pointless. It's absurd to be holding this. And by the way, you are paying for this. Do you remember how much money and time was spent investigating the president the last time and impeaching him? I mean, Americans aren't starving enough, unemployed enough, sick enough with everything going on with COVID and the aftermath of shutting down our economy and our society for all intents and purposes. There isn't enough suffering from that Congress can address that they have time to waste on this absurdity. Apparently, there is plenty of time on their hands. And you know what? There's always plenty of time on their hands. That's when they do all of these things that hurt us. And this is yet another one of those things. So I find it ridiculous. And we played you yesterday Senator Chuck Schumer, the now Senate Majority Leader's quote about the impeachment. What he said was absolutely absurd and ridiculous. He does not care about the American people. He's a very, very, very partisan person. But listen to what Senator Kirsten Gillibrand says. I don't even think she believes what she's saying, but watch this.
Have to get things done, and I don't think there's a human being alive in America today that could do a better job than Chuck Schumer in this moment to bring this country back together again, to get things done, to get the economy moving. His life and dedication to public service has prepared him for this moment better than anyone. And so I am so optimistic that in this new Congress.
All right, so first of all, what kind of crystal meth is she smoking? Secondly, there's no better person in this time to bring the American people together. You heard his video yesterday that we showed you. This is a man that seeks to divide the American people, that seeks to divide the Republican Party, which is what they want, and that seeks to get nothing done for the American people, or he would not be holding this impeachment trial. That's not how you bring the American people together. 74 million Americans voted for this man, President Trump. 74 million. And yes, I'm sure that not all 74 million were crazy about him. And I'm sure that not all 74 million still support him. But guess what? The majority do. The vast majority. In the Republican Party, in polls that they've done recently, it's something like 88 to 89% of Republicans support the president. That's half the country. Little bit less, but almost half. You don't bring the American people together by doing this. You don't. And all you're going to do, like I said, this is why I'm almost happy this is going forward. All you're going to do is solidify the allegiances of Republicans with each other. A few weeks ago, they were mad at President Trump. Some people might have left the ranks. We saw what Mitch McConnell said, because Mitch McConnell is very much like this. He's like that. He sees which way the wind is blowing, and that's the way he goes. Otherwise, how could he have given a speech 2 weeks ago saying that President Trump incited the violence and lied to people and misled them and this and that, and then now he votes that the trial should not happen? He doesn't have an ideological bone in his body. He doesn't have a backbone in his body, and he does not have a single principle up there. Not one, or anywhere in his body for that matter. So, speaking of Mitch McConnell, he was filibustering and he wanted the Senate to maintain the filibuster. The Democrats want to get rid of it because then this way they, with the 50 senators and Kamala Harris, to decide in their favor on every single vote. The only tool that the Republicans have to block anything is lawsuits, or they have the filibuster. And the Democrats want to get rid of it. So Mitch McConnell made a deal with the Democrats. Apparently, the filibuster will stay intact for the next 2 years. Great. Let's hope we can elect more Republican senators in 2 years. Remember, Raphael Warnock from Georgia is up for re-election. Others are up for re-election. We'll see what happens. I don't think he got that much, but at least he got something. But again, he has no principles. He is all about power and about Mitch McConnell. All right, when we come back, we have a special guest on the show. If you have been censored or kicked off social media, as I have been from Twitter, and I've been censored on Facebook, you may now have, in North Dakota only, a new tool to get back at the social media companies. And also, North Dakota may have a new tool to protect itself from Joe Biden's executive orders. We will talk about it after these messages on No Filter with Debbie on Beck.
Capital City Restaurant Supply is your one-stop shop for quality restaurant products for the large to small kitchens. Commercial-grade restaurant and bar supplies, limb game processing equipment, refrigeration, dinnerware, and smallware. We sell everything including the kitchen sink from trusted manufacturers for the chef and all of us. Open to the public since 1971, we are veteran-owned and North Dakota proud. Let us take care of your restaurant and home kitchen needs today by visiting us at 1414 Interstate Loop in Bismarck or on the web at capitalcityrestaurantsupply.com.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county.
Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
Are you a thrill seeker, sightseer, or day tripper? The Ford Bronco Sport SUV is built for you. Four Bears Casino is giving away a 2021 Ford Bronco Sport loaded with a ton of interior space, safari-style roof, smooth suspension for any terrain, and easy-to-clean surfaces. Qualify now just by playing your favorite slots at Four Bears Casino. Double points on Sundays. Also get in on Super Senior Wednesdays, slot turning Thursdays, and hot seats on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Spin into Four Bears Casino and Lodge for chances to win.
Some things in life are hard. That's why banking shouldn't be. Cornerstone Bank.
Heroes and Icons is now Cozy TV. Don't worry, you'll still get your favorite Beck News programming without changing the channel. Real people, real news, Beck News.
Welcome back to No Filter with Debbie on Beck. Joining us today, we have State Representative Tom Kading. Is that the correct pronunciation?
That's correct. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being on. You have introduced some new bills, one of which is getting national attention. I think probably both of them should get national attention. But the first one we'll discuss, I am a huge fan of because I myself was banned from Twitter. I got a new name and went back on, but I was off Twitter for 2 years. And Facebook and these companies are basically immune. They can do whatever they want. We know that today, Mr. Lindell, Mike Lindell, the CEO of MyPillow, was taken off Twitter for violating their civic integrity rules, which I don't know what those are because they never give you the rules. They never give you any specifics. It's all nebulous. It seems like the Politburo. So tell us how, if you live in North Dakota, your bill might change that.
So what I put into place is a bill to really look at censorship of social media companies. So one of the things out there is people say, well, it's all federal law. Well, that's not true. The states still have the right to regulate and control tort law, defamation, contract law, and that's really where this bill focuses. And so if you're in North Dakota, and it's North Dakota only, if you're in North Dakota and they violate their terms of service, so they have a terms of service out there, it's kind of written, it doesn't say we can discriminate against Republicans, we can discriminate against conservatives, it doesn't say that. So if they violate their own terms of service and they're censoring outside the scope of Section 230, then my bill applies. That's when you can go ahead and bring a civil action against one of the social media companies.
So Section 230, as I understand it, that exempts all the social media giants, all of these tech companies that are supposed to be neutral publishers but aren't, from being sued over defamation. What would your bill allow people to sue for? Can you give us some examples?
So I wouldn't say it exempts all defamation. It exempts in two particular situations. One, it says when they're not a content publisher, then they're exempt from liability. And two, if they censor on 7 distinct items, they're immune. So what my bill would do is say if you censor outside the scope of that, and you create a narrative. So what my belief is that social media can selectively edit or selectively allow posts, selectively suppress true posts to create a certain narrative around something, and that can in fact be defamation. And that's really what this theory is based on. How they censor, how they allow posts to be made, this can be defamation. And I'm essentially saying that that censorship can be sued on.
So Mike Lindell, I have a question for you then. Mike Lindell, he is a Minnesota resident, I believe. So our neighbors to the east. What would, under your bill, would he be able to come to North Dakota as a Minnesota citizen and sue Facebook in North Dakota? Facebook has a presence in North Dakota, as does Twitter. They're all there.
I think it would be challenging for him to come into North Dakota. I don't think it would be impossible because, jurisdiction would be complicated. That would be one that would probably go all the way up to, at least the state Supreme Court in terms of arguing over whether there's jurisdiction or not. I would tend to say there probably isn't. You'd have to be probably a resident of North Dakota to bring it.
All right, so let me interrupt you and ask a different question then. When I was kicked off Twitter, I had tens of thousands of followers. And when I was kicked off, I wanted to sue Twitter. And one of my friends said, well, you better look at their terms of service because how they'll get you is they will force you to sue where they're located. And he was correct. I looked at Twitter's terms of service. You must sue in the county in San Francisco. I think it's called San Francisco County, if I'm not mistaken. But it's that county that houses San Francisco. That's the only place where you can sue Twitter under its terms of service. How does your bill enable somebody to get around that?
I'm sure good lawyers could argue about this, but I would say state law, state statute is going to trump the clause in the contract. So even if the contract or the terms of service says San Francisco County, state law is still going to have precedent over that and provide a district court in North Dakota to have that jurisdiction.
All right, so what would you say to the person that says, you're a Republican, Republicans believe in the free market, and if you're a free marketeer, why not let a new social media company emerge that does allow you to sue for censorship? That will be their market advantage. What do you say to that?
I think it's a little bit complicated. I wouldn't call us necessarily a capitalist society anymore. We have a high level of cronyism as well as capitalism. And, these massive companies have a lot of government-related benefits. If we were in a perfect world, perfect free market, I don't think we'd have to worry about this because competition would step in, would provide alternative solutions. You saw Parler step in and their market share was growing and growing and growing. But what happened? Big tech worked together to basically get them shut down.
That's
I don't
true.
think we're dealing with a normal free market anymore, unfortunately. And that's probably the only reason these laws are relevant.
And in a perfect free market, there would not be a Section 230, would there?
Absolutely not.
They would have no exemptions. I don't get an exemption. Do you get an exemption?
I don't get an exemption. I took a course, and this is a little bit off topic, but I have an MBA, and I took a course, Government and Business, and the whole idea was using government to gain benefit or shut your competition out. And these huge companies do it all the time, and that's not a free market.
All right, so we're getting close to the break. Can you stay over till the next break? We want to talk about your other bill, and we don't have a lot of time in this break.
Absolutely.
All right, and before we go to the break, I have one last question about this bill. And that is that what do you say to people who say, well, if this bill gets passed in North Dakota, you know what's going to happen? Facebook and Twitter and those companies, they won't do business in North Dakota. They'll treat it like North Korea. What do you say to that?
Absolutely not. Their attorneys, they have armies of attorneys. I don't think they're going to be too intimidated by attorneys in North Dakota. North Dakota has a GDP of around 64 billion. Facebook has a revenue of 72 billion. Facebook is bigger than every single business in North Dakota combined. I don't think they're going to be intimidated.
Wow, that is an interesting juxtaposition. When we come back, we will talk about your other bill, which I think actually is even more important to North Dakota and really the rest of America. That and more after these messages on No Filter with Debbie on Beck.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
In southwestern and south central North Dakota, on any given day at any given moment, a Dakota Community Bank and Trust customer is logging in or signing on to do their online or mobile banking. We believe that community banking can blend both the past with down-home customer service in-house and the future with modern banking conveniences and technology for our customers anywhere, like here or here, all while honoring our long-standing tradition of community-first oriented banking here at Dakota Community Bank and Trust.
My wife was diagnosed with early stage Alzheimer's. We talked about it and we kind of decided we'd be a little bit proactive and try to start making provisions. So we started looking here, and Eventide worked out to be pretty much the perfect answer. I guess I didn't expect it to be so nice. The staff here were terrific. We enjoy it.
Beck News brings you real people and real news. Every weekday on KNDB, KNDM, and KRDK. Start your evening with the Dr. Duke Show at 4. Take a fresh look at current events with Ladies of Another View at 4:30. Go down the road with Joel at 5:30. Watch No Apologies with Becker at 9. Cap off your night with No Filter with Debbie at 10. Beck News. Real people, real news.
The professionals at Superior Glass provide residential and commercial glass installation and repair services in central and western North Dakota. Superior Glass is your source for stained glass projects, mirrors, windows, touchless, and automated entry solutions. Stop by and see us at 3323 East Broadway in Bismarck or call us at 701-258-5600. Superior Glass, where you get superior service for less. Bye for now.
Welcome back to No Filter with Debbie on Beck. Returning for this segment is State Representative Tom Kading, and he talked about, before the break, his social media bill, which I think is a great idea. Now he's got another great idea, and this one involves executive orders of the President of the United States and how they would affect North Dakota. And you all probably know, all of you watching, that Joe Biden yanked the permit on his very first day in office of the Keystone XL pipeline that's at least 70,000 jobs that he took right off the bat. And the Congressional Budget Office estimates that it could be up to 4 million jobs when you count all the other businesses that would be created or that would grow off of that and all the jobs associated with those. And North Dakota has an interest in this because not only did he do that, he said that he is going to suspend oil drilling on public lands for the next 60 days. That's bad for North Dakota. It also is a bad omen for what's going to happen with the Dakota Access Pipeline. So, Representative Kading, tell us what your bill does to overcome these executive orders.
So, executive orders are from the president, obviously, and they can affect all sorts of things. So an executive order, initially, they were supposed to be meant for times of war, times of emergency, that sort of thing. The last 3 presidents all ran on this fact that we're going to use less executive orders. And all of them have used more. And Joe Biden has just gone totally nuts and used just a ton of them so far. And many of them which have or are going to have a significant impact on the state. So what I said is, if an executive order comes out that infringes on the rights of North Dakotans, the rights of North Dakota businesses, then we're not going to use state resources to implement it. You know, if DC really thinks that they need to force us to do something, send it to their congressional branch of government, pass it like you should. But what my bill says is we're not going to use our own money to slit our own throat. You know, some of the oil tax on oil, the tax on farming in our state is absolutely horrific to our economy. And, you know, I'm a big believer in states' rights. So that's one of the first reasons I decided to run is I believe in states' rights. I believe DC is a total mess no matter what party. And one of the few ways we can correct that is by asserting more states' rights and having more power centralized in the local rather out in DC. So this bill just tries to bring back some of those rights. I focus on things like energy, farming, land, Second Amendment.
Can you give us an example of a way state money would be used to enforce one of, it doesn't have to be Joe Biden, but any president's executive orders that you can think of?
You know, something that could come to mind is let's say the president came out and said, we're going to take a $200 tax on any AR-15, and we need the local law enforcement to enforce this for us. That would be a clear example of when local money would have to be used to enforce an executive order.
Do you think if there were such an executive order that there would be a legal fight in court and that, well, there probably would be, and that the supremacy clause would be asserted, and how would you get around that?
You know, I think the supremacy clause certainly would be asserted, but the federal government still doesn't control the independent jurisdictions within a state. The states still have control over that. They might lose federal money over this or that, kind of like the state highways. You know, if you don't comply with certain age restrictions and this restriction and that restriction, you lose federal funding, but that doesn't mean they can control those in North Dakota. That can't control our law enforcement.
So, in other words, for example, if Joe Biden said no, let's say he said, I'm going to put restrictions on the Dakota Access Pipeline, and that may happen because, as we know, the woman that he appointed to be the new Secretary of the Interior she was protesting the pipeline along with the Standing Rock Sioux tribe, and she is very much against the Dakota Access Pipeline and other pipelines. If she put restrictions on the Dakota Access Pipeline, then local law enforcement under your bill they would not be allowed to help enforce any of those restrictions, correct?
Correct. And, you know, that's one of the things we couldn't stop the federal government from doing their thing either, just like DAPL. So DAPL was this huge protest south of Bismarck, and it was on federal land. So law enforcement in North Dakota couldn't go onto federal land to correct the situation. And then that's why it was such a mess, is because we didn't have the jurisdiction to take care of it. And when Trump came into office, it was taken care of. Whereas, you know, when he wasn't in office, we couldn't control what the federal government does on its own land. So let's say the federal government, specifically from an executive order, comes out and says no DAPL. we really can't do much about it, and this bill unfortunately won't allow DAPL to come through.
Well, you were mentioning about the executive orders. You probably know this. On day one in office, Joe Biden signed 17 executive orders. On day one in office, President Trump signed one, just one. If ever there was a dictator who ruled by fiat, it's got to be Joe Biden. 17 on his first day. That is a terrible omen, not just for North Dakota, but I think for this whole country, if we're interested in, as you pointed out, the legislative branch passing things. And I'm very much in agreement with you that the Congress and the U.S. Senate, to which we in North Dakota elected a representative and 2 senators, they're the ones who should be deciding these issues. Do you foresee any other things? We already know what he's signed into law. We know what some of his plans are. Do you foresee some of the other things? You mentioned farming. What are some examples of some of the things that he is going to do that are going to be tough on farming?
So one specific one is waters of the U.S. So North Dakota is a prairie pothole region. There's prairie potholes all over the place. And waters of the U.S. would expand certain federal jurisdictions around these potholes. And what that would effectively do is make all sorts of land wetlands, which makes it very difficult to come in, put drain tile in, up your productivity of your land, change certain things. It would make it very difficult on farmers and very detrimental to their production.
So we have 1 minute left until the break. I want to ask you this. Joe Biden said in the debates that he was going to end our use of fossil fuels by 2025, which that's impossible. Then he said, I made a mistake. I really meant 2035. How would that affect the farmers of North Dakota? Are they going to be able to plug their tractors into some electrical power grid overnight and go plow their fields after that?
It's a dream. It's a farce. I don't think he meant it, and it's impossible. There is no way there's enough. You just don't have the energy storage right now to run a tractor with X horsepower to plow a field. It just doesn't work, and it's just not going to happen. And every time, he goes in and tries to make it harder, it just increases prices.
And that's why we need your bill to pass. I think it's a great idea. Let's have it enacted and see it in action to protect the people of North Dakota. Thank you so much, Representative Kading, for being on No Filter with Debbie on Beck. We would love to have you back.
Thank you. Had fun.
Thank you. When we come back, we'll talk more about what's going on with the Biden administration. That and more after these messages on No Filter with Debbie on Beck.
Howdy, folks. It's a Caroline Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey Boston breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at our salad bar. Sink your teeth into our famous Caroline burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spur rattling pie with a calm roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Since opening in Hebron in 1940, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been your hometown bank. Our mission has been to provide modern banking convenience with old-fashioned hometown service. We've grown with the communities we serve through year-round events, countless sponsorships, and nearly 7,000 hours of volunteering each year. Learn more about our 80-year history at dakotacommunitybank.com.
Jeez, what a mess. Look at that. There's roof stuff everywhere. It's so embarrassing. Ruins the neighborhood. Come on, humans. Let's get this fixed.
Don't let your roof go to the dogs. Call America's Best Contractors for your free estimate.
Need a new woof?
After checking with the rest, go with the best. America's Best Contractors. 258-2412. Online at americasbestcontractorsincorporated.com.
For the greatest selection and full menu offering, it's the Four Seasons Restaurant and Ice Cream Parlor in Garrison. Succulent sandwiches, big breakfasts served all day, and delicious desserts. Easy access in and out for campers and RVs. The Four Seasons Restaurant at the top of Main Street, Garrison.
Some things in life are hard. That's why banking shouldn't be. Cornerstone Bank.
Welcome back to No Filter with Debbie on Beck. During the last segment or the segment before, we were talking to Representative Tom Kading about internet censorship from the big tech giants, and I mentioned that the CEO of MyPillow, Mike Lindell, has now been banned from Twitter. And Twitter said the reason he's been banned is because he violated their civic integrity rules, which they never tell you what they mean by that. They never give anybody any rules. They just decide, and they just ban people at whim. So the story is apparently that they're mad that he said that the election was stolen. Well, you know what? Who cares if they're mad? That's his opinion. My opinion might be it wasn't stolen. Your opinion might be that it was. I'm not saying that is my opinion. I don't know, because I don't think the courts let there be enough of an investigation. And I think it would be very difficult since we have blind ballots. We don't, you go into the ballot box, nobody knows who you are, your ballot gets separated from your identity. We have no way to trace them. So I don't know, but we don't know. It's a matter of opinion. It's not a matter of fact. And as we showed you in the video yesterday from Rand Paul, where he said to George Stephanopoulos, it has not been debunked. It has not been decided. It's a matter of opinion. It has never been really gone through. And as he pointed out, most of the court cases were procedural dismissals. They did not go to the substance of the claims. On this show in the past, I've gone through some of the claims. Some of the claims I know are not accurate and they're not with merit, but some of them may be with merit. And we've shown you on the show some of the things that have happened. So to kick Mike Lindell off because he said the election's been stolen is just absurd. All they need to do, which frankly, I don't even agree with this, is their little notes, their little labels they put on people saying this matter is in dispute, blah, 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 which is what they do, which we don't need. We're adults. I think you have to be at least 13 to be on Twitter, or you have to have adult supervision. I think we can all protect ourselves to decide what we think is true. We don't need Twitter to protect us. And by the way, when Twitter puts those labels on, you cannot retweet those tweets. It's absolutely absurd what they do at Twitter, and it's getting so constrictive, so harsh, that what is happening is people are leaving Twitter in droves. Ever since they kicked the president off Twitter, and then they kicked off Mike Lindell, every day my Twitter numbers have gone down because people are leaving. They've had it. My Twitter numbers were constantly going up. I never had a down day. Now they're constantly going down. I've lost a lot of followers because they are leaving. And you know what? Twitter is going to be the next MySpace. Remember MySpace? I think we have the graphic in case you forgot. Yeah, remember that? MySpace, a place for friends? Now it's a place for ghosts. And even the ghosts don't go there anymore. That's what's going to happen to Twitter, and it cannot happen soon enough. Goodbye, Jack Dorsey, and your fiats and your rules and your electioneering. That's all it is. All right, now, the Bidens. So Joe Biden is busy in office helping the American people make our lives better. No, I'm just kidding. He's not doing that. Here's what he's doing. He and Dr. Jill, and his daughter, I can't remember her name, Ashley, I think, they set up a new Twitter account for the White House dogs. Your tax money is going to this. The Oval Pawfus. So look at this picture of the account. Check this out. Yes, Pawfus of Dotus and Cotus. So the dog of the United States and the cat of the United States. Are you kidding me? This is what is going on. Oh my gosh. This is who you voted for. I really wish that we had ESP and we knew ahead of time what was going to happen and we could use that in a campaign commercial. We could say Joe Biden, the Pawfus president. I mean, come on. People in America are starving. People are out of work. People are desperate. People are wondering how they're going to pay the bills, how they're going to keep a roof over their shoulders, how they're going to work and at the same time homeschool their kids or monitor their kids to make sure they're doing online learning, or they're going to school and staying in school. A lot is going on. People are suffering. It's very hard. And you're doing the Oval Pawfus account. I want you to take a look at a couple of the tweets because this is really just rich. All right. So this is the statement from the White House. Woof, woof. I just feel bad even reading that. And then there's a translation from K9. Are you serious? All right, so that's the first day at the White House, the pause release. Ha, you're so funny. All right, now let's see the other tweet that I picked out. And they're all, one's worse than the other, the Constitution. Oh, and they're dressing racial equity and breed equity and fur color justice. Are you... Oh, please, just shut up. If ever there was a Twitter account that needed to be banned, it's not Mike Lindell. It's not President Trump. It's the first Pawfus or whatever they called it. The Oval Pawfus. Oh my goodness. This is what Joe Biden is doing. All right? And he's doing a lot of other really, really, really bad things. So we mentioned in the break, or before the break, with Representative Kading, the Dakota Access Pipeline, and more importantly, because that's the one that's been shut down, the Keystone XL Pipeline. And the Keystone XL Pipeline, he shut it down. He yanked the permit. As I said before, that's 70,000 jobs immediately, maybe 100,000. And when you count all the other jobs that were related to that or would have been created from that, that's 4 million jobs. Can we afford right now to lose 4 million jobs with everything that's going on? More Americans unemployed than ever, more Americans at the poorest, at the lowest levels of poverty than any time in 50 years. And then today, the Dakota Access Pipeline decision comes down from the Court of Appeals. Now it's being billed. This is going to go, by the way, to the U.S. Supreme Court. This is being billed as a loss for the pipeline and its owners. And it's being billed as a win for the Standing Rock Sioux tribe. I don't see it that way. In fact, while they did stand with the trial court judge in Washington, D.C., and as I've said on this show in the past, they filed this case in Washington, not in federal court in North Dakota, where they knew they would lose. They went to liberal Washington, to the swamp, to get the decision they wanted. At the Court of Appeals, they said that the pipeline does not have to shut down. And that was the big thing here, is that the judge ordered the pipeline to be shut down within 30 days, which was impossible, and to be completely emptied out, which would have just cost over $100 million. And they don't have to do that now. Everything else in the decision stands, and there's going to have to be a deeper environmental assessment by the Army Corps of Engineers. That's not good. But it's going to be appealed. This will be appealed to the Supreme Court. And in the meantime, the Dakota Access Pipeline can continue to operate, which is great not only for North Dakota, but the rest of America, because otherwise our gas prices would have gone sky high, sky high. All right, when we come back, get ready. You are going to have to pay a $15 for a burger, maybe $25 for a pizza. We'll tell you why. That and more after these messages on No Filter with Debbie on Beck.
Howdy, folks. It's a Caroline Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey Bossin breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at our salad bar. Sink your teeth into our famous Caroline burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spoon rattling pie with a calm roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the game. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Hi, I'm Dennis Haugen, along with my sons Andy and Mike, and we're showing our support for wind energy in North Dakota.
Wind energy has provided farmers like us with a steady stream of income that's not tied to the weather like crops and cattle are.
Another bonus is that wind farm owners are required to maintain the roads leading up to the turbines. Because of that, oftentimes these roads are the best in the county.
Wind energy is good for landowners, it's good for the land, it's good for our economy, and it's good for North Dakota.
Capital City Restaurant Supply is your one-stop shop for quality restaurant products for the large to small kitchens. Commercial grade restaurant and bar supplies, limb game processing equipment, refrigeration, dinnerware, and smallware. We sell everything including the kitchen sink from trusted manufacturers for the chef and all of us. Open to the public since 1971, we are veteran owned and North Dakota proud. Let us take care of your restaurant and home kitchen needs today by visiting us at 1414 Interstate Loop in Bismarck or on the web at capitalcityrestaurantsupply.com.
My wife was diagnosed with early stage Alzheimer's. We talked about it and we kind of decided we'd be a little bit proactive and try to start making provisions. So we started looking here, and Eventide worked out to be pretty much the perfect answer. I guess I didn't expect it to be so nice. The staff here are terrific. We enjoy it.
The professionals at Superior Glass provide residential and commercial glass installation and repair services in central and western North Dakota. Superior Glass is your source for stained glass projects, mirrors, windows, touchless and automated entry solutions. Stop by and see us at 3323 East Broadway in Bismarck or call us at 701-258-5600. Superior Glass, where you get superior service for less. Bye for now.
Now is the best time to plan for your 2021 farm equipment needs. North Dakota-based Summers Manufacturing is currently offering early order savings. Take advantage of big savings on North America's broadest tillage line, including the Super Kohler Samurai and the innovative BRT Renegade, as well as the best built, best backed land rollers in the industry. Talk to your Summers dealer today or go to summersmfg.com to learn more about early order savings available on all Summers equipment.
Welcome back to No Filter with Debbie on Beck. So this is the reason why it is so important not to have the Democrats control both houses of Congress, and meaning the House and the Senate and the White House, because bad things will happen. And we warned you about this. And one of those bad things is you're probably going to end up having to pay something like $15 for your average burger or $25 for a pizza. You don't believe me? You think I'm talking about that gourmet fancy stuff somewhere in New York or California? No, wrong. Because guess what happened today? What happened today was the Democrats introduced a bill to change the minimum wage. Right now, the minimum wage nationally is $7.25, and they want to raise it to $15 by 2025. House and Senate Democrats. This is going to pass. It is going to pass both houses unless you have somebody like Joe Manchin that defects from the Democrats on this issue and stops it in the Senate, and unless you have all the Republicans in solidarity on this issue, stopping it in the U.S. Senate. Otherwise, this is going to be the new law. And do you know what happens when the minimum wage more than doubles? The price of everything else more than doubles. In fact, it ends up probably quadrupling. And not only that, you know what else happens? Jobs are lost. Because if I have to pay somebody $15 an hour to make my burgers, you know what I'm going to do? I'm either going to raise the price of the burgers tremendously to make up for that, to more than make up for that, or I'm going to fire people, or both. because businesses cannot sustain more than doubling the minimum wage. And let me just tell you something to all of you people who work for minimum wage and you think, oh, goody, now I'm going to be making twice as much. No, you won't. You will not, because first of all, you probably will be fired. Secondly, if you're not fired, what is going to happen is you may make twice as much, but you aren't really going to feel it. You are going to end up paying more like everybody else. You know what happens? What happens when the minimum wage is raised is everybody who gets it feels it for maybe the first few months, the first maybe a year. But you know what happens after that? Or even before that? All the prices of everything that you and I buy on that money goes way up. So you may be making more, but you're going to have to spend a whole lot more. And the prices are going to go up faster than you're going to feel it in the wages. And what is going to happen is it's going to hurt even more to live on $15 an hour than it hurt to live on $7.25 an hour. The minimum wage is not meant to be a salary forever. It's meant to be a starting wage, and that's it. And people hire people at minimum wage with lower skills or no skills at all. They train them, and those people acquire skills, and they end up making more money. But what happens is if you double the minimum wage, you're going to cut in half the number of jobs. Businesses will adjust. They're going to raise their prices. And people with no skills who would have gotten these low-income jobs, these minimum wage jobs, won't have jobs. And they won't be able to get the skills to make a better life. So this is going to hurt the people that they're pretending to help. It's going to hurt people in the inner city, people in rural America, people doing minimum wage jobs everywhere in the service industry, everywhere. This is going to just be terrible. And like I said, your burger could end up being $15, your pizza $25. So good luck with that. This is just going to destroy the economy at a time that right now the economy is already very badly scarred and wounded, and we need to get out of this. Right now, our economy is in the intensive care unit. The way you get out of the intensive care unit is not to strike somebody with an axe right near the neck. That's what this minimum wage bill will do. So good luck with that, America. That is just terrible. I just don't get it. All right, now, Joe Biden, another thing I don't get, but I do get it, actually. He's trying to be so progressive, so different, so ahead of his time by picking a nurse for a surgeon general. All right, so Joe Biden demanded the resignation of President Trump's surgeon general, and he submitted his resignation. So Joe Biden needs a surgeon general. And he just left the position open because he immediately demanded this guy's resignation without having any kind of transition. You know, he was whining about the transition and all of that. Now he was given a chance to transition in one of the most important jobs right now in the time of COVID, and he didn't. He demanded the guy resign. And so what does he do today? He appointed a nurse to be the acting surgeon general. The surgeon general has always been a doctor. It's a doctor. Nurses are not surgeons. All right, I don't know about you, but I mean, that's exactly who I would want operating on me if I had brain surgery or heart surgery. Yeah, I'd want a nurse. No, and that's not the person you want as your expert to help further the treatment of infectious diseases like COVID and other things that are afflicting America, other illnesses. You don't want a nurse, but he picked one, Susan Orcega. So Susan Orcega, a nurse, there she is. She is now our acting surgeon general. Congratulations, America. Aren't you different? Aren't you cute? You got Joe Biden as your president. You just won the lottery. All right, then there is this guy, Jackson Ruffett. Now, who is Jackson Ruffett? Jackson Ruffett is just another spoiled, hippie-like teenager, hippie wannabe with long hair and a ponytail and left-wing views who wants to destroy America. We saw them all year long. They were in these Black Lives Matter riots. Well, this one is the son of somebody who was at the Capitol riots. Jackson Reffitt turned in his father, who was at the Capitol riots. He turned him into the police. Now, I don't know that his father was involved in any violence or any destruction. I don't know that. I haven't seen any evidence of that. But this kid, and I guess he's an adult, I think he's 18, he is getting lauded all over the country by all the mainstream media outlets. I saw him on Good Morning America. I saw him on the Today Show. He's in all my newspapers and all my websites that I turn to for news. And he is being lauded for turning in his father to federal authorities. And he even last night went on the Cuomo Brothers show on CNN. Would you do that if your parent, if your father, if your mother was involved in the Capitol riots? I'm not saying if they committed violence. I don't know that this guy did anything violent. Would you turn that person into authorities and then go brag about it like you're some kind of great person on CNN? This is a spoiled, rotten kid, and he's going to regret this. He will regret this if he has any kind of conscience or if he ever develops one. And unfortunately, America is filled with teens and young adults who feel this way. This is the kind of country we have become, and it's not a good thing. And remember, things are not always as they seem. We'll see you tomorrow.